Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today, Unleashing the Power of AI, Maximizing the Benefits of Microsoft Syntex for Your Organizations. We're really excited to present this with my co-host. We're going to do some quick housekeeping, and then we're going to get into some information about Microsoft Syntex, and then we're going to jump into a demo.
Hi, everybody. We just wanted to first let you know that we are recording this webinar. We'll share the recording and slides at the end of the webinar, but we do want to let you know this is being recorded. And we'll also keep time at the end for Q&A, but please don't wait to the end to send in your questions. You can type them in now in the questions pane of the GoToWebinar panel. And just to introduce ourselves, my name is Rachel Berkey. I've been with Withum for about 10 years. My focus is really on knowledge and information management, so I'm really excited that Syntex is giving us a way to better structure unstructured content. And we'll get into what that all means in a little bit.
Hi, everybody. My name is Danielle. I am also part of the Modern Workplace specialist here at Withum. My experience is in end user training, knowledge management, and change management. So really, my focus is helping businesses maximize their business performance, efficiency, and productivity.
And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Arya Parsi. I'm a customer success manager at Withum. Just a quick fun fact about myself. I love to cook and I love to run races. And I just did a half marathon down in Washington, D.C. this past weekend. In terms of my career, I've been doing Microsoft consulting for about 20 years. I started out as actually a SharePoint developer way back in SharePoint 2001. And then I became a customer success manager at Withum about 6 years ago. All right, so we're going to do some quick polls as we discuss. First question here is, are you currently using Microsoft Syntex in your organization? So polls open, so please feel free to I'll give this a second. So we only have 2% of all votes.
Ooh, these results are kind of exciting.
Yeah. So right now we're about 9% of users that are actually using Syntex in their organization, and about 85% say no, and 6% say no, but they plan on using it soon. So I think everybody is in the right webinar today, so that's great. We have one more question here. For those that are using Microsoft Syntex, which capability are you guys using? Are you guys using content assembly or Syntex models? And don't worry, for those that don't know what those two terminologies mean, we'll cover those in a bit. So voting is open, so please vote if you can. It's another few seconds. All right, so about 100% of people voted, I am not sure. So we'll cover all these in a bit. So after this demo, hopefully you'll be able to say confidently, you know, which one you're using if you are using it. So let's get into this. We want to quickly give you guys an overall before we jump into the demo. Microsoft Syntex, high level here. Syntex provides a document understanding model utilizing artificial intelligence and machine learning in order to extract information from documents. Microsoft Syntex is an add-on service of Microsoft 365, and it is designed to work with SharePoint Online. Syntex is used for processing both structured, unstructured, and free-form documents in order to extract information or metadata, and we'll cover what those really mean. And using data extracted from these documents, a workflow can be kicked off to automate any kind of processes, get approvals, populate other line of business applications in your organization, and a lot of other host of uses for workflows can be done utilizing the Syntex extraction. And then lastly, just a note here, another great thing for those people who no SharePoint. Using Syntex, you could extract metadata from documents, and that can be utilized for things such as SharePoint search services so that users can easily find documents or information in your organization. All right, so the big question is, why are we here and what can Syntex do for me? So the answer is it can do a lot, but one of my favorite features of this is the content assembly here. That allows you to basically create a document template using Microsoft Word or other supported file formats and define placeholders for dynamic content that can be inserted into documents at runtime. And we're going to see an example of this in our demo, but I know everybody kind of hates filling out, paperwork, and if you can cut down that work, why not use it, right? All right, so the other thing that Syntex does is it supports 3 different models, and we're going to see some examples of those in the next slide: unstructured, freeform, and structured. And then lastly, at the very end of the demo, I'm going to cover both retention and sensitivity labels, and those are kind of like bonus add-on features to Microsoft Syntex, and we'll kind of put those in context once we see the demo. Okay, so on the right-hand side, we have some pictures here that depict some of the Syntex models that can be understood. And the first one we're going to talk about is unstructured documents, and that refers to any document that does not have a well-defined structure. I know, like, most of the time whenever we talk about documents, that's generally what a lot of people do have in their organization, and those include things like emails, memos, contracts, or reports. And the example of this is this email in the top right hand. And then freeform documents, so those don't have well-defined structures, but they do have some structure, right? So some of those are, again, there might be some emails, there might be memos or contracts in your organization, and we have one right here in the middle of their screen. So the way the freeform one works is that while it's, it has some structure, but it lets the author kind of be flexible and add their own layer of wording to it or move things around. And then unstructured documents are well-defined documents. You can see an example here on the bottom of the screen. And this is of an invoice or a receipt. You can see that, generally you have the information laid out in the same order. So in this example, we have like the bill to, pay to, the bank account number, the account number, a description field, and all these different things in specific columns and orders. And this can be understood by Syntex very easily.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about some limitations that come along with Microsoft Syntex. As we discussed in the beginning, Syntex is designed to process and extract information from various types of documents. But one thing we have to keep in mind is that the accuracy of this tool is highly dependent on how we train our models. The tool does have the potential to miss important information or even extract irrelevant information, depending on how we train it. If that happens, that just means we have to train it a little better. With training being kind of top of mind, Syntex does require training data in order to perform accurately. So what this means is the tool's effectiveness can be limited if there isn't the proper training data. Training data is something like a perfect case example of your document and where that content or extraction content lives in the document, so we can actually train the model to identify that. So no matter what document you load, it's always going to be able to pull the proper information. This could be a challenge for some organizations who may have a limited amount of training data available. In addition, there's also limited language support at this time. So as of right now, Microsoft Syntex does support English, French, German, Italian, and Spanish. Potentially could be a barrier for organizations who require multilingual support. And then last but not least, we talked about, Microsoft Syntex is designed to process information from various documents. Office documents and PDFs are the most preferred. However, we can process information from images. With images, the quality of the image is going to really significantly impact the accuracy of the content that gets pulled from that image. So with that being said, low quality or low resolution images, those probably aren't the best. So we want to make sure that we have high quality going in so high quality can come out. With image processing algorithms, they rely on the data contained within the image itself. So this could possibly limit the insights that you're going to receive from that image because it can only see what's in that image. And then last but not least, an image does take a significant amount of processing power, a lot more than a Microsoft Word doc or a PDF might. So if you're working off of a device that has limited processing capabilities, this could also become a barrier. So we talked about this great, amazing product, and it could be used for many different use cases across multiple organizations, but how much does it cost? So first and foremost, Microsoft Syntex is an add-on, and it does require users to have a license for Microsoft 365. Once that requirement is met, there's two types of product offerings that you can choose from. First one is the pay-as-you-go feature. So pay-as-you-go is a way to pay for Syntex using an Azure subscription. If you go the pay-as-you-go route, all users in your organization will be able to create and apply unstructured and pre-built processing models. They can also upload documents to pre-primed libraries. The thing that you have to keep in mind with the pay-as-you-go feature is you're charged on a pay-per-use basis. So if your organization is going to be using this frequently, that might not be the best route to go. The next option you could go with is the SharePoint Syntex per user license. Thing to keep in mind with this is if you're going to use Microsoft Syntex, whether it's applying a model to a library, whether it's creating a template for content assembly, that user has to have a Syntex license assigned to them. Licenses for this feature are $5 per user per month. We talked about some examples of things that require license, like applying those models to a library, creating models within a library, or even creating templates for content assembly. What we went ahead and did is we actually provided a full list here on the slide for you of all of the different things that do require that Syntex per user license, just so that you have that for your reference. Last but not least, one thing I really want to call attention to is that an unlicensed user can be granted access to what we call a content center. So they can create those models, but they can't apply them to a document library. So there's a little bit of a workaround there. If you have users creating those models, training those models to do exactly what you need them to do, then someone with a license can apply it to a document library for you. And then we run into the importance of discovery. So with any project, especially those who have experience with project management, discovery is huge. Microsoft Syntex is a powerful tool that has a ton of features associated to it, but it might not be suitable for every job. So with that being said, discovery can help you identify the specific requirements of your organization and determine whether or not Syntex can be used for those. Syntex actually is highly customizable, which is great, and it could be used in many different use cases. But first, you want to determine what those use cases are for your organization, and then you want to look into those customization options that are available. Discovery phase for any project can also help you in defining your scope and timeline. It can provide a clear understanding of the current state of your data or content, and then we can take a look at those requirements for processing and managing it moving forward and in the future. We've mentioned quite a few times that Syntex does rely on high quality data to work effectively. So the discovery process can help to identify the quality of your data, and then it can also help us to turn around and estimate a level of effort that's required to clean and prepare that data for processing.
All right, so we're going to start getting into the fun part of this webinar, and that's the demo here. So we have prepped the demo, and we are going to use the following scenario for this demo. We're going to basically be a contract management for, or I'm going to be playing the role of a contract manager for a professional services organization. And for this demo here, I'm going to be responsible for overseeing the creation of contracts for my organization, and then I'm going to showcase how content assembly is used to easily create and construct a contract. And then once I do that, I'm going to take that contract, and once it's finalized, I'm going to upload it to a SharePoint document library called Signed Statement of Works. And then we're going to see how Syntex is going to process that document. And then we're going to see all the magic behind Syntex.
As the project manager, I'm going to take the signed statement of work, the signed contract, and actually execute on it by leading the project. So what Syntex is going to help us do is it's going to connect with Microsoft Power Automate and create a Microsoft team. So I'll be added as a member, so I can then go ahead and manage that Microsoft team to run our project. The nice part about this is I didn't have to make a request to IT. I didn't have to wait for Aria to tell me the statement of work had been signed. It automatically was created for me, and I was notified that I was added to the team. We also automated this, so there would be even a channel created in that project. So it's not just the new team and it's blank. We actually have a channel created specifically for the statement of work, and the statement of work is uploaded itself to the file section.
And I'm going to be playing the role of a portfolio manager. So this being said, a portfolio manager really focuses in on the data that we're able to receive. So I'm going to go over the contract management homepage, and that site really actually brings the information directly to the person who needs it in a very clean and simple manner. And then on that page, we actually will show you how we embedded the Power BI dashboard so that as a portfolio manager, I can easily track any project or manage all of the projects within my portfolio.
Fantastic. All right. So I'm going to bring up our Withum contract management site here, and you can see we have 2 tabs at the very top. One is called the signed statement of works, which we're going to touch later, and then one is called statement of works. So statement of works is where I'm going to construct my contract, and again, that's using the content assembly model here. So let's get at it. Okay, so you just come to the library here and you click on new, and I'm going to click on Withum SOW template. So again, we've trained this model here to basically recognize our contract template, and we're going to wait for everything to load here. But you can see on our left screen here in our template, I have some placeholders here like company name, first name, last name, the address, billing information, billing contract, all the information that a contract would hold. And you could come on the right-hand side and easily fill out all that information here. So company name, we're going to call it Acme. First name, we're going to call it Bugs. And then last name, we're going to call it Bunny. And as you can see on the right-hand side, it's going to start filling out all this information. So we've made this pretty realistic here. You can see that we can fill out all these values here on the initial part of the contract. And then you can start filling out information like billing purchase order, the SOW number, the SOW project name, the effective date. If you have a master service agreement, when that happens, the goals for a project, the estimated start date, estimated end date, functional scope, tools and techniques, and tasks out of scope. And it's basically going to save you all the effort of filling out this document little by little and knowing where to look, and it's going to pre-populate everything for you. So I'm not going to go through each one of these fields because it's going to take us a long time here, but once I fill out all these fields and click create document, you're going to see your document, and I'm going to discard this for now, but you're going to see your document here, and it's going to have all that information already pre-populated for you. So again, I think that's very powerful, especially if you're an organization that has a lot of different documents that you can standardize, and having that be trained so that you can easily fill out information and send that out to your clients, send it out to your customers. So there's a lot of different use cases for this. All right, so the way in our organization it works is once we have a contract ready, we send it out to our clients, and then usually we use DocuSign, and then once we get a response or a statement of work that's signed, we can have the system automated, or in this case, I'm just going to manually show you guys that, we have a library here called Signed Statement of Works, and this is where we're going to store all of our contracts that we get signature from our clients. And now this is where kind of the magic of Syntex happens. So whenever a file gets uploaded, we've trained our models here to look through our free-form documents here. And again, our contracts are free-form in our organization. They're not very structured, and so you can see that we have decided that some information that's important to us to extract from these documents automatically is the master contract number, a project number, who the company is, a contact name, client address, billing contact, billing email, billing PO, the project name, the project effective date, the project manager engagement name, project fees, contract start dates, etc. And one thing I will refer to a little bit later is this classification date here. And this is going to be used by Syntex to basically kick off a workflow. And once a document is processed, this date gets timestamped here, and that's kind of how you know that Syntex has processed everything. But you can see how timely it would be or time consuming it would be for somebody to come in here and manually look through a document and then try to extract this data using a manual method and populating each one of these fields on the screen. So big time saver here. And just for the demo purposes, I'm going to take a document and I'm going to just drop it here on our screen. And then we're going to start seeing some of the fields start getting populated. So it's uploading right here. We can see that Syntex is starting to analyze the file, and it's beginning to populate the data automatically that it extracts from the document. So you can see it's already starting to fill out some of the key information that we've asked it for. And this takes about 15 to 20 minutes usually for Syntex to completely process everything. So I'm going to let this kind of marinate, and then we're going to go on to the next part of the demo here and show you guys how we've taken this document, extracted some key information from here, and then we've used it to basically do some automation. And I'll let Rachel kind of walk us through the automation we've done.
So I'm actually taking over the document in Microsoft Teams. I'm not going into the contract management side at all. As Arya mentioned, it'll take about 10 to 30 or 20 to 30 minutes for this the Syntex document to process, all of those data fields to be populated, which then kicks off the workflow to create the team. So this is actually one we've previously created, but in real life, just say an hour later, give yourself some buffer. The project manager will be notified by getting an alert. Both the team's desktop client will pop up saying you've been added to a team, and they'll also receive an email. And then you can see that we've also automated this to create a welcome message for the new project manager. So multiple ways they'll be notified without Arya actually having to contact me himself. And then I can go ahead and add my team members, add my project schedule, anything I need to do to get this team ready to go. So Arya is just going to show you to verify that I was indeed added as part of the team by going to the membership pane. So you can see that I'm already in here as a member. My doppelganger also is in here because I have 2 accounts. But typically you would only have your true user account. Most people don't have a guest account in their Teams environment as well.
The reason Rachel was added here, by the way, is because she was designated as the project manager when Syntex extracted her name from the document. So it's automatically putting her as the member here.
Yes, so if somebody else is designated as a project manager, they would be the one created as the member. I am not the organization's project manager. And then the other thing that was created, in addition to the default general channel, you can see we have an SQR002 channel. So that's the number we gave to our statement of work, which corresponds to our project codes. And if Arya opens that up, you can see that this has a channel with an introductory message. This is something else you can adjust the introductory messages through your Power Platform workflow. And then in the file section, by opening up the file section, you'll see that the signed statement of work is already uploaded. I don't have to go retrieve it from the contracts library, or ARIA doesn't have to be invited to this team to add it. So it's already populated there by Microsoft Magic. What's nice about this is it means that the contracts library can be managed and secured to contract managers, and then that the project team can be secured to the Microsoft project team can be secured to the project team. So we don't have to cross our permissions. We can keep that very clean.
Great.
And so, while I'm busy working on my project, Danielle's taking a look at all of her portfolio, one being our Squarely contracts. So she's doing that through a higher level of roll-up using Power BI.
Yes. So with the contract management homepage, we kind of touched a little bit on this before. This is kind of where you're bringing all of the information to the people who need it in a really clean manner. So on this homepage, we've included resources, we've included how to generate a contract. We've also included who to contact if you have questions, more towards the bottom. But really the key feature here on this homepage is our Power BI dashboard. So we were able to embed that dashboard right here. So we're bringing all of those insights and all of that data right to the people who need it most. This could be anyone from your portfolio managers to your leadership team to your senior VPs, CEO, whoever it may be that needs that data. Here it is, and it's a really easy way to access it. The Power BI dashboard is completely customizable, as is the entire homepage. For our organization, we actually wanted to hone in on the clients themselves, potentially those sub projects that we have with each of our clients, and the revenue that we're gaining. So as a portfolio manager, I might want to look to say, oh, ACE contractors, I'm gaining X amount of revenue from them. If I wanted to break it down by project, I could, and I can also see what that breakdown might be. So what Aria is doing here is he's actually showing you our filters. So if you're someone who likes filters like me, you can actually filter it down to see exactly what you're looking for instead of looking at one big dashboard. So you can filter, in our case, by client, the engagement manager, or even the project manager. So if I wanted to come in and I wanted to say, okay, how many projects does Aria have at this time as the project manager? I can click on that filter, select Aria, and then see which projects he's working on. This is important, especially with the project date, because I want to take a look at how many projects is Aria working at an exact same time. So this way I can kind of understand what his responsibilities are at any given time.
All right, thank you very much. And that concludes our demo. So
what I'm going to do is if you want to do it, you can go ahead and do it too. I want to just provide a high-level overview of everything that we went through, because we did go through quite a few different features for Microsoft Syntex and various ways that it can be used. The first one we did was we created a statement of work using our content assembly model. So this process allows you to automatically generate your business documents, really ultimately just making the task quicker, more consistent, and resulting in fewer errors. Next, we went ahead and we updated a document in the document library. We uploaded a document to our document library. That document library already had that free-form document processing model applied to it. So when that document was uploaded, it extracted the content that we told it we needed. Once it does that, it displays that in the columns for us, and we can utilize that data for so many different things across the platform. From there, we leveraged Power Automate to use some of the extracted information that we received to create a team for the project, to create a sub-channel, automatically add our team owners, and even post files directly to the chat for us. So none of that needed to be manually completed. That's a way more efficient process than if someone had to do that themselves. Next, we went over the Contract Management Solutions homepage. Again, keep in mind, this is entirely customizable. This is something that we customized for what we need to view. On our homepage, we did quick links for resources, information on who to contact, how to request a contract if you need one, and then the embedded Power BI dashboard. That last piece, Power BI dashboard. So this is where we leverage Power BI to create data visualizations from the extracted information that we received from our documents. This allows you to really share those important business insights with your organization, ultimately driving success and transforming your business.
All right, so I'm going to cover some more Syntex use cases here. As I mentioned previously, one of the great things about Microsoft Syntex is the whole automation portion of it. And then what better way to use automation than applying retention labels? So I don't know how many people on the phone are familiar with what the concept of retention labels are, but basically whenever you have a document and you process it, you could say, okay, take this document, it's been processed because of these XYZ rules. We're gonna basically delete or dispose that document according to your organizational policy. So that's a very powerful functionality here without having to have somebody actually go in and make that decision of should a document have a retention label applied and retention period enabled. The other thing we want to note here is while Syntex allows for this, retention labels are not yet available for the free-form document processing models. I'm sure that's in the works right now, so be on the lookout for that. The next thing you can do with Syntex is apply sensitivity labels automatically. Again, you don't have to do anything manually. You don't have to have somebody sit there and decide is something sensitive and it should be restricted or not. Some examples of that is like having a financial document and parsing through it and having Syntex identify that this is a sensitive type of document, and having bank account or credit card numbers in that document is going to trigger that, and encryption settings are going to be set on that document to restrict access to specific people in your organization, or whoever needs to know that information only. So again, with sensitivity labels, the only drawback here is that it's only currently available for unstructured documents. Rachel?
I'm sure as you've been watching our demo, you've been thinking of ways that you could apply Microsoft Syntex in your organization. We wanted to give you a few more ideas that we've thought about, but certainly really the sky is the limit here. So really we've seen use cases around knowledge management, case management, customer service, and records management. So one of the knowledge management pieces, and I kind of hinted at this when we started and I gave my intro, is really it allows us to tag content that otherwise, documents are just words. They're not structured data tags, but by using Syntex, we can actually start to identify some key terms in a document. So things like title or the organization or author of a document, we can use and make it really easy to find, or make it easier to find information and share knowledge across our organization. Case management, so very similar to with an invoicing, if you had a case file or a report or legal filing, we can again extract data from that document to create easier case management and analysis. So just like we had that SharePoint list with all of the fields from our statement of work, we could create something similar with our records and reports from our case statements. And again, customer service, like we have a lot of great support ticket tools, but often it's a ticket number and the person who inputted the ticket, and they're not always tagged by what was the ticket type, or how long did it take somebody to respond, or how was customer satisfaction. So we could use Syntex to extract information from our tickets, so see how somebody rated the service they received, pulling out issue types based on some of the terms used in that ticket, would all be great ways to utilize Syntex for some customer service tools. And then records management, I think this is probably where Syntex shines, and probably even some low-hanging fruit. This is already documents that we need to label or have sensitivity classifications on, and it can really help automate some of that, so it's not just now on the user or on the structure of your SharePoint site to have automatic labels. making sure that your content's in compliance with any legal or regulatory requirements. So now we just wanted to ask you, since you've seen Syntex, what are some of the ways you envision using it in your organization? So, you know, think about this. You can drop it in the chat and connect with us and describe your ideas. We'll share our contact information at the end. But really kind of the sky's the limit. If you have any questions about some of your ideas, you can add them to the questions panes. I already see one of them in there to let us know how you like to use Syntex and kind of where you see the sky's the limit here. So with that said, we're going to transition into our questions and answers portion. So the first one is really, how long did it take us to create this template and train the Syntex data model?
Okay, I'll answer that one. So for this demo that we put together, just training the model itself, this does not include obviously the Power BI portion or the Power Automate portion. It took about 24 hours of training the model because I think mostly, as I mentioned previously, our documents, unfortunately, were not very consistent. Fortunately or unfortunately, we're trying to test the limits here. So it took a little bit longer than I think maybe it would have taken if we had, you know, very structured documents. But again, I think as we've kind of stressed, discovery is the key for all this. So making sure you know what you want to kind of tag and identify that ahead of time will save you on training the models. And again, having the number of documents or high quality documents to train a model on is also very important.
Great. We had another question asking if we could integrate Salesforce. I'm going to extend that a little bit and say Salesforce and other line of business applications. Is this something you can integrate, Danielle?
Salesforce and other lines of integration, absolutely. One of the biggest things that we see what people utilize this for is DocuSign, Adobe PDFs, Adobe Sign, things like that. As far as Salesforce goes, again, that's the discovery piece. We would really want to fully understand what exactly you would want to have as a use case before I can confidently say yes or no.
One thing I would add is if you wanted to take advantage of the Power Platform to create automated workflows with some of these line of business applications, they would be premium connectors. So there's an additional fee for Microsoft, as well as the licensing fees for whatever line of business application you're using. So that's something to consider as you're creating any budgets for some potential Syntex projects.
Yeah, and just to extend upon that answer, I would say that you know, the majority of products out there, as long as you know, there's a web API to connect to it, you could integrate this with Syntex, Power Platform. So it's, you know, it's doable. You know, some other vendors that have premium connectors allow you to more easily integrate it, but you could do it with a majority of web APIs out there.
Could you use Syntex to analyze and synthesize Word and PDF documents, like to find insights or common themes within them?
Absolutely. That's actually one of the preferred methods and use cases for Syntex.
So I will say it is based, though, on the content within it. It won't be able to say, it sounds like somebody's talking about knowledge management because they use words like content and information. It will need to be based on what's inside of the document. So it's essentially only as smart as the content it's managing. But Word and PDF files, you know, that's the preferred input. And there's another question asking if you could populate multiple documents at the same time. So is there any kind of technical limitations on, you know, how many people are using the same library for Syntex?
No, as you know, I dropped in one file during the demo, but I could have dropped in like 20, 30 files at the same time. Although I think the majority of the time you could upload as many. And one other point I do want to make about this is, you know, while my demo, I was just showing you guys the manual route. This could have easily been routed through a inbox where, you know, you have like all your contracts that are within your organization that are signed, sent to an inbox from DocuSign, and then Power Automate can automatically pick that up and just drop it into the document library. So that particular step where I just manually dumped everything in there could have just been automated, really. But I kept the manual for demonstration purposes.
Yes. Are there specific industries that you think are best suited to utilizing Syntex?
So I think specific industries, no, but I would say document heavy industries, yes. Like, those that have a lot of documents, those that have a lot of knowledge that they want to basically utilize and disperse in their organization. As I had previously stated, that one of the powers of Syntex is that once it extracts that information, it's metadata. So, search services can pick that up. You could use graph APIs to use that for other applications. So there's a lot of different things that can be done with that data once it's extracted.
So there's a question that's a little bit around document assembly. Could you use Syntex to populate a new document? Like, could you take the data from a proposal, for example, and then populate additional documents that you'd use as part of the project award?
Automatically, I don't believe so, but you could definitely do it manually. So looking at the content, let's say your document library, and pulling out all of the information associated to who's your client, who's your project manager, who's your engagement manager, things like that, and then applying it back to the content assembly model, yes. Aria, do you know if there's anything that can automatically process that for them?
So I think we could still use Power Automate for some of those functionalities to extract that key information from the document once it's been populated, to populate a second set of documents. Is that the question? If I'm understanding it? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different APIs that could be utilized to basically extract. Again, we can use Syntex to extract that data, and then use Power Automate to basically populate another document with that information for another purpose. So you don't have to keep populating.
Yes, or potentially even creating a web page then with that information, so you don't even have to send it back to a document. What about Excel files? Does this work for Excel?
So that's a good question. I haven't seen an example of that with Excel, but I can check back and let you guys know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and similarly for PowerPoint, I don't think PowerPoint's quite structured enough to take advantage of Syntex, unfortunately. But I'm sure you could do your PowerPoint as a PDF, and then that would be a little bit cleaner. But
I was going to say the same thing if you converted your Excel to a PDF. But you would have to kind of train the model. It would have to be, you would have to have a lot of different examples in that instance. But
yeah, and it seems like just from a quick Google that you would also need to convert it to a PDF. Now, the nice part about this is you could set up a Microsoft Power Platform flow that if there's an Excel file added, then there's a condition to convert it to PDF, so it wouldn't have to be the end user saving it from Microsoft Excel as a PDF. So, I mean, really, this wasn't supposed to be a Power Platform webinar, but you can really see how that really, how Power Platform extends this artificial intelligence and automation, making it more practical for a business user. All right.
Any other questions, Rachel, out there?
I am not seeing anything. We'll give everybody another minute. One thing we didn't really touch on was any additional licensing for Power Automate. So we talked about Syntex licensing, but we also added in Power Automate and Power BI. Do you want to talk a little bit about the licensing needed for the demo today? As we mentioned, some of the use cases we talked about with other line of business applications would be different.
Yeah, so for the demo that I did today, there was no additional licensing needed, and the reason for that was because it was all contained within the Microsoft 365 space per se. Like, we were using Teams, we were using SharePoint, so all those are included in Power Automate licensing automatically for all users. But however, I will say if you were like connecting to Salesforce or any other line of business applications, Adobe, and you were going to utilize a premium connector, then that's where some of the licensing might come into play. Or if you were going to populate SQL Server or other applications, then that's you're going to require a premium connector for that, and then there's going to be some additional licensing costs with those.
And then we only briefly touched on retention labels and sensitivity labels. And so just something to let everybody know, do you want to kind of talk about when you would, do you need the sensitivity labels at the beginning when you're uploading the statement of work, or, you know, is that something you could add later? Maybe you didn't know you needed that. Maybe your organization hadn't decided that a statement of work was a record, or a signed contract. I guess a signed contract would be the record in this case. Could you talk a little bit about how that configuration would happen?
Sure. So again, some of this, I mean, you said you didn't know about it or it wasn't important at the point. So again, probably discovery is very important for all this, but the short answer is no, you don't need to configure this at the beginning. You configure this at any point to basically account for sensitivity labels and retention labels. But it should definitely probably be part of your organizational governance plan, I would say, ahead of time. And if you're not talking about retention labels and sensitivity labels at a governance standpoint, then I think you know, that should just be included in that plan.
Yeah. Definitely bring in your legal team. They usually have some insight there as well.
Legal, HR, everybody. Everybody got to see that table, all the stakeholders. So
what would happen if you needed to change your statement of work template? How would you modify? Would you need to rerun your training of the document, or how would that make you have to start all over?
No. You could add additional constraints to the existing models to account for that.
Awesome. And then somebody had a question about our Power BI dashboard. They asked how it was developed and is it part of the Syntex model?
So the Power BI dashboard was developed right through Power BI. We were able to extract the information from the document, post it to the document library, and then from there, just pull the data from our library to display right in the dashboard. So it actually is a very common use case that you'll see Power BI used when displaying data.
Yes, and I mean, something that's nice about our Withum team is we have expertise in all these different areas. So while our focus is Syntex and knowledge and document management, we actually cheated a little bit and called on our Power BI lead to build the dashboard for us for this demo. So there are definitely a lot of different, you know, value in having different experts. Similarly, we have a Power Automate team Power Platform team really, who lives and breathes Microsoft Power Platform and is experienced with many different line of business connectors. Arya, do you want to flip ahead to our contact info?
All right, so again, I appreciate everybody spending some time with us this afternoon on our webinar here. I did want to provide our contact information here. My name again is Arya Parsi. My email is below. We had Rachel Berkey and Danielle Duffy, and their email address is also below. Please feel free to contact us if you have any other questions, or if you wanted to get some expertise to help you kind of work through your use cases. So I think that's the end of our webinar today, and I appreciate everybody joining.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, we'll be sending the recording and the slide deck to everybody who attended today. So we really appreciate you coming along this journey with us, and are looking forward to hear about ways that you think you can apply Syntex in your organization.
Have a nice afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.